everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of the Over the Boards podcast. We're recording a little bit early today. It's February 20th. I'm going to be leaving for the weekend, so we're not going to be doing our regularly scheduled episode, so we're a little early for it, but we got some news nevertheless. We started off with some simple stuff. We talked last episode about Zach Bogosian being sent down to Rochester, and he has decided not to report to the Rochester Americans, so he has been suspended indefinitely. Not really surprised. I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't want to go down there either, but at this point, I feel like you just got to suck that up and go ahead and do it, but nevertheless, it's his decision. If he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't have to. Would you be going to Rochester or no?
Well, if I was in Zach Bogosian's shoes, I would probably be less likely to, given that he was he was a top pick in the NHL. He probably still realizes that, and he's played in the NHL for so long, and he's only 29, so it's tough to get sent down. And I don't know. I mean, it's hockey. I mean, if you like playing the game, it might come off a little strange if you see someone actually go down and play like that. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and you got to do what your team says, and if you don't, you're going to get suspended. And even if they come to, like, maybe an agreement if he stays the rest of the year and just plays the home games, like, he doesn't travel with the team, because Rochester and Buffalo aren't that far, so he wouldn't really have to move or anything. And if he can just play home games instead of away games, like, he has 1 year left, so he'll be out in the free agent market in the summer. What he gets, I have no clue. But maybe just, if he came to an agreement with, I'll just play the home games in Rochester, that might work, I'd say, for him.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you were to get suspended for 3 games, how do you think you would get suspended for 3 games?
Hitting a guy in the head. You
mean like following him from behind and having your elbow behind his head and then throwing his head into the boards with your elbow?
Kind of, yeah.
Would you think that's a pretty fair thing to say? All right, so for people who don't know, Evander Kane got a 3-game suspension for elbowing Neil Pionk in the back of the head, and like I said, I don't think he really called a elbow to the back of the head, more so as a elbow throwing someone's head into the boards, because like I said, he glided in right behind
Definitely
him.
had the wing out.
He had the wing out, and it wasn't the entire time, and then as soon as he got close, he gave it to him in the back of the head. Now, Evander Kane took to Twitter and he put out a statement basically calling out George Parros and saying that some players are being treated unfairly for what they do and that he wants a third party to help assess suspensions, because I will admit they've been kind of all over the place this year. Now, like, if this gets 3 games and Chara only gets a $5,000 fine for what he did to Brendan Gallagher, I do agree with him in the fact that that's kind of ridiculous. But I don't think Evander Kane has any ground to stand on to say that his suspension shouldn't have been a suspension. I mean, he has a checkered past, and if you don't even throw the last couple of years in there, just throw this year. I mean, he got abuse of an official earlier this year. And like I said, you can't really debate what he did. It was very clear. Everybody's seen it when it was happening. You could see his elbow was up and exactly what he was going to do, and he followed through and did it. Do you think 3 games is enough? I think it was perfectly fine. I mean, maybe a little bit more, because it's not like he just got into the boards and threw it up. It was out the whole time.
I mean, what are the 3 games at the end of the day? I understand he's not getting paid for them. I understand that. But he'll easily make that up in something, whether it's an endorsement or something. And where's San Jose at? Like, what are those 3 games really matter for him and the San Jose Sharks?
It doesn't matter at all.
Absolutely nothing. And the fact that he tried to argue something that was clear-cut a suspension, because he's been suspended before. He's gotten warnings, fines, all that stuff. You can't argue when you're a repeat offender. I'm sorry. Period. You get suspended now.
Mm-hmm.
So I really see no argument in it, and he should really just stop calling out George Parros, because you're going to remember that next time. Who knows if he might adds another game next time to something that's going to happen. Because you know with Evander Kane, something's probably going to happen again.
More than likely. I'd put money on it. Now, do you think he was right to call out George Parros at all? I'm surprised he didn't get a fine. I think a fine should have been.
I think George Parros needed a call out anyways, because he's been kind of, and I say that job is probably the hardest to do in the NHL.
Sure.
And all the respect to him doing it, but you really have to be consistent with that job because you have so many factors going into that. So I think he did need a little call out saying, like, wake up, see what you're doing on either side of the spectrum and try to bring it in to more of a fair system. But I don't think it should have been Evander Kane being the one calling him out. Like, if someone got suspended for the first time and they got like a 5 game, and it was like a 5 or 7 game, and it was what Kane did, and then he called him out, I would say that probably makes a little more sense. He doesn't have a history or anything like that. The call out's probably warranted a little bit, but for Kane to do it, I think the call out was kind of out of line.
Do you think there should be a third party for that?
Like
I don't.
Like an arbitrator?
Yeah, or even someone just for George Peros to speak with and kind of go over the suspension, or do you think it should be kept in-house and let them do it their way?
What third party are you going to bring in? Because you can't just bring in a random guy. Like, he has to have experience within hockey. You could always bring in someone from the ILC.
Yeah.
Or the IJ. Like, someone from the national side of it.
I was thinking it would have to be someone who at one point either played and is now in some kind of law. So someone who played and then went into a law system, or someone who worked for a team and is a part of, the protection legally in a legal situation.
I don't know if you're going to cater this, but what about Dan Carcillo?
No.
No?
No. Don't like Dan Carcillo.
No, but what he's striving for player safety and everything, don't you think he'd probably be the best third party?
Yes and no.
He's been suspended before. He knows what happens on either side of it.
But I think he would let his personal opinions come into it. That's the thing, because I don't know if you know what happened with his.
I know all that. Yeah.
And here's the thing, like, we don't even have to jump into that, but the thing is with Dan is he strives for really great things, and but the thing is with him, it's always 1 step forward, 4 steps back. Everything he tries to do, he'll contradict himself or do something that ruins the whole point. And that's the thing, like, I think if he was in that job, he would let personal feelings get in the way. Just say he didn't like Evander Kane, and then this whole system was
But he wouldn't be the final decision maker, that's what I'm saying. Like, if George Peros came to him, to me, it would be more of a consultant job rather than a decision-making job. Like, George Peros would go, even if it's like 3 people, like a 3-people board, George Peros says, here's a video, I'm giving this guy a 4-game suspension based on this, this, and this, and then they can all give their opinions, but at the end of the day, it's still up to George Peros.
That's true, but you don't think when he's the third party, and they say, hey, we're thinking like 3 or 4 games, and then Carcillo says, how about 5? And then they got to meet in the middle, and George has to make that decision. Maybe it is 5 instead of 3 or 4. And then things are getting a little out of hand.
I don't think it will get out of hand. I think you won't know someone until they get the job and what they're going to do.
True.
But I'm just saying because all the stuff he's been coming out with, like how the CTE needs to cut down and how he's striving for more player safety and all that. I don't know. I think that if he was on panel with 3 other people, I think that would be good third party. But like I said, it cannot be a decision-making party. It has to be a consultant position.
I think there should be an automatic head contact, and I know I'm not alone with this. There should be an automatic head contact suspension. If you make head contact at all on a hit or anything, it's say like an automatic 3 games. If you go by someone, you chicken wing them, that's an automatic 3 games. If you're Chara and you slam someone in the head or the face, that's an automatic 3 games. It doesn't matter the context of if it's after the play, in the corner, blindside, anything. I think there needs to be just a basic in the sand rule. If you hit the head, 3 games. Because the whole point is they're trying to protect their players, and they're not doing it. Like, that's the thing. Like with the thing with
it's
Chara.
kind of tough for me because accidents do happen, and I understand what you're saying. Like, you have to get, but like, if a guy the game is so fast nowadays, and something's always gonna happen. So you have a guy out there, never been suspended before, never been fined, clean as a whistle, accidentally runs into a guy, and it happens he hit the head, and you're automatically giving him a 3-game suspension. That's kind of tough for me. A 2 would probably be more there for me. 3 seems like a lot especially at the time of the year, 2, when it could happen. Like, if you got 8 games left, and you're a bubble team, your best player accidentally runs into a guy and makes contact with his head, there's 6 points you could lose, right?
Yeah, but you got to look at it the other way. If you accidentally run into someone, and that someone is Sidney Crosby, and then Pittsburgh is struggling for a playoff spot, and he's out 15 games with a concussion, and that completely ruins their chance for the playoffs.
You have to take that in consideration, too.
Yeah. No, I understand. I don't know. I just think at some point, if the league is really trying to protect the players, I think they really need to go ahead and put something in place to protect the players. Like with Chara, he only got a $5,000 fine because under the way the CBA is run, they're fighting for that right to not get fined a huge amount of money for doing something stupid. but Chara's made almost $100 million in his career.
Make the fines in the millions then.
Yeah, I think it should be based on your earnings, which I know in a lot of situations it used to be where you see a guy fined $1,000 because he only made $700,000.
You see NBA players, they get fined almost $1 million for stuff.
Yeah, so why?
And I understand. And people will say, "Well, NBA, the average NBA player makes what a top line NHL player makes."
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's somebody's life, and that money goes towards helping people who've gone through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the money's not just going to the NHL for them to blow. It's going into an account that helps people help people that are struggling with CTE and multiple injuries after hockey.
Mm-hmm. It's in place to help the players long term.
So these like $35K and $75K fines mean absolutely nothing to someone like, say, a Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews or a John Ferris or a Panarin, any of those guys that gets paid in the double digits. That's nothing.
Yeah.
I think if you start going with the $500K, $250K, $750K, like never hit $1 million because $1 million's a lot for a hockey player. It is.
I think you got to base it off.
But if
salary.
you really hit them in the head with a fine, they'll really wake up.
Yeah, if you're a Tom Wilson, and I believe Tom Wilson makes $5 a year, $5.5. It's a decent.
It's somewhere in that.
It's
ballpark.
decent amount of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you find him $750,000, that's a lot more money than $5,000 is.
Yeah.
I mean, most people know the salary for an NHL player is broken down. They don't get $5 million all in one day. It's broken down over weeks, and you get weekly.
A minimum all year, and then you get your big bonus on July 1st.
Yeah, the way structured contracts are now. But if you fine a guy $750,000, that's a huge amount
Probably
of money.
Probably think twice about next time.
Exactly,
because then you're at 1.5.
Yeah,
and then you keep going and going, and you're almost at your cap hit in fines.
And if you become a repeat offender, they jack it up. So it goes from $750,000 to $900,000.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
And then obviously the max to me would be $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go over $1 million because what players make.
No,
but if a player gets to $1 million, boom, give us $1 million.
Yeah, I think it's got to be based on salary because they don't. I say it funny.
It's tough sometimes too because sometimes guys come up from the American League and they're making like $725. They get a couple games in and they hit a guy or they fight a guy and they really do something to him. You can only find them like $50K.
That's what I mean. I think it's got to be a percentage of what you make to a certain point and have certain pay brackets. So if you make $3 million to $5 million, it's 10%. If you make $700,000 to $900,000, it's 5%. Like in something in those range based on salary. I think if you're really trying to protect
honestly,
the players,
they should start handing out both.
Yeah, why not?
At the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you said, have a defined thing. Go with my number of games, then the fine. So 2 and a fine.
Yeah, because you lose your money when you get suspended.
Yeah.
But why not make them lose more money on top of not what they?
Because it's all about the money at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's why that's why you're getting paid millions of dollars. If you can get paid $1 million, you can get a fine of $500,000.
And it's funny to me too when guys complain about getting fined, and it's like this money's going to help you
or the person
in
you hurt
15 years.
Yeah.
Or the person you hurt. Like this money's always going to come back to you, like at some point.
The CBA is there to help you. It's not there to hurt you.
Yeah.
You're going to be done at some point, and you can be a fringe NHL player for 15 years, and you're only making $70,000 in the American League. When you retire at 35, you're not going to be set for life. You're going to need things to help you after that, and that's where the CBA comes in. It's there to protect players and help them make the transition out of hockey, and I don't think enough people realize that. I think a lot of people see it as a greedy front for the players to kind of hide
the NHL
behind
doesn't even touch that money. It goes right to the PA.
Exactly. So it's not what a lot of people think it is. They think it's like a greedy hub for all the money that the players made, but it's really not. It's for the future to help everybody that plays under that
who's
league.
Retired right now, who's struggling with addiction and CTE. It helps them get the help they need.
Yeah.
So the money is a good cause no matter what. I just feel like players overreact when they get fined like $5,000, like they just lost their home.
A $5,000 fine to me is a ton of money, but a $5,000 fine to someone like Chara who's making $3.5 million is nothing.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to think about. We'll move on from that because we're on that for
we were on
decent
that for
amount
a while,
of time, which is good.
Kind of escalated.
Yeah, but I thought it was a good topic because I think Kane at this point should just shut his mouth.
Yeah, we went from Kane to like.
But I mean that's how that works.
Yeah.
Like again, he's got to shut his mouth. If you don't want people talking about you that way,
Repeat
don't do
offender,
those things.
don't say nothing. Period.
Yeah,
that's the end of the day.
You have no ground to stand on at that point. Now, just a quick little mention there. I don't know if we said it. We said it last episode about the whole roller coaster with Shea Weber and maybe being out for the rest of his life and all that jazz. But Nick Kyprios was the one who originally said that it could be a career-ending injury, and he has since come out and said gave an apologize to Montreal and to Weber and his family. And funny enough, we've talked about it being a career-ending injury possibly, and then he comes out on the 18th and plays against Detroit. Now they ultimately lost that game, and New Jersey. Montreal has lost all their games this year
against Detroit.
Detroit,
8 points.
8 points that they lost, which is a ton of points when you think about it at the end of the day when you're pushing for that playoff spot. And I don't know, it's just kind of crazy. No, the thing is with me, I think he might need surgery again. I really do think, but I think he postponed it, and he had the option to do it now or do it in the summer. And I really think you're going to hear once the season's over that he's going to undergo
probably do
surgery.
it the day after the final game, if not a couple days after.
Yeah, the moment you hear that they're probably eliminated.
Because you'll want him ready for... I don't know if he'll be ready for training camp, but you would like him to be back probably by November.
You can't miss anything more.
Like, we don't know how long the surgery is going to keep him out.
Mm-hmm. It might not be a whole redo of the whole ankle or foot. It might just be a little tweak here and there. But yeah, I feel like as soon as you hear that Montreal's been eliminated or anything like that...
I think once they get that E on their name in the standings, he should have the surgery.
The very next day you're going to hear there's going to be a press release.
He should get the surgery the day after that.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some trades because we got a ton of them to go over. All right, it started... I don't have the one that started at all.
Sunday was the New Jersey trades they started it.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it was Tyler Toffoli who went first. But we do have it. Or, sorry, we'll throw into
maybe it was Toffoli.
We'll just jump into the injuries because there is a couple injuries. Not as many as last week, but there's a few major ones. So, the big one for Vancouver is Brock Besser is out 6 to 8 weeks. He fractured a rib. That's pretty detrimental.
It was a rib cartilage.
Yeah. And, obviously, that injury resulted in the moves that they made. But, again, that's probably one of the biggest blows they could have for Vancouver completely. And I don't know. That's pretty serious for him to be out 6 to 8 weeks.
I mean, it's your 1B forward.
Yeah, between Horvat, Pettersson, and him, that's your three horses up front. And yes, they have other great players like Miller and now Toffoli. That's a serious loss that they're going to be having. That's a lot of points that they're going to be missing. He's a big part of their game, and I'm curious to know where they're going to go from here, because they're doing well right now, but they could easily just drop next week. And as we see with the trade that we'll get to, Jim Benning, this is his last year probably to do anything. He's been in hot water for a little bit now. So I think he's making the move to go all in to kind of save his job. And this could be what loses it in the end. You never know. And again, Rantanen is out.
Ferland's out too on Vancouver.
Yeah, he's
out for the season.
They shut him down,
yeah.
For the concussion-like symptoms.
Yeah. Which
is, again, a tough loss for them.
2 forwards, 2 top 6 forwards.
Yeah, and Rantanen is out again this year. He's out 6 to 8 weeks as well with an upper body injury, I believe it was.
Yeah, he was out with that at the start of the year too.
Yeah, they didn't specify what it was. That's a pretty, again, we go back to like Besser.
It's bigger than the Besser hit.
It's
you don't want to ever categorize guys' injuries because you always feel bad for a guy getting injured, but Rantanen compared to Besser, it's bigger for Colorado than it is Vancouver.
But I think Colorado could handle it a lot more with the players that they have and how they've done so far with like Landeskog being out and Rantanen being out before. I think they're suited a little more to handle the injury compared to Vancouver.
Well, getting, like you said, Tyler Toffoli for Vancouver might subside that.
Mm-hmm. And you never know what Colorado's going to do. Colorado's been linked to pretty much everybody all year. So, I don't know. I could easily just see them pulling the trigger on someone like a rental pretty easily. Grubauer is out day-to-day as well because he got injured in that Stadium Series game. And
it's a serious day-to-day.
Yeah.
When I mean day-to-day, it's like we don't know what tomorrow's going to be.
Yeah, it could be he's done tomorrow or he's in the lineup tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's just a day-by-day figure that out as it goes. But we'll... And then our last injury is Oscar Klefbom is out 2 to 3 weeks with a shoulder injury. Evan Bouchard has been called up. Take that spot. Again, that's a pretty serious injury. I mean, all injuries are serious. But for Edmonton, who's making that push where McDavid was already out, to lose arguably
Cassian's out.
your top two defensemen. Yeah, Cassian still got that suspension. So when you're losing arguably one of your top two defensemen, and your top forwards out, and you're on the bubble to be a playoff team, it's not the best time to have that injury where you could just fall right off the map. But I guess we'll get into those trades. We'll start with the one that started it all. We'll just say Andy Green goes from New Jersey to the Islanders for a 2021 second-round pick and David Quenneville. David Quenneville was a 7th-round pick in 2016, 17, or 18. Can't remember off the top of my head. Somewhere's in that range.
Casting a wide net with that one.
Yeah, last couple of years. He's spent most of his career in between the A and the ECHL. I think that was just a roster move. You got to throw a contract with it.
A contract for a contract.
To make it make it fit. But I think that's a great deal for New Jersey. I think that's a questionable move for the Islanders. I'm not surprised because it's Lou and he probably wants to bring in guys that he knows, and maybe he's looking for a little bit of leadership on that team, on a team that's kind of maybe lacked a little bit of leadership. You
can see the trades from both sides. Honors lost Adam Pollock.
Mm-hmm.
They needed a defensive defenseman, a real
Yeah.
stay-at-home guy.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Green fit that. He was probably one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest on the market, given that they gave a second round per next year, not this year, when a lot of teams are looking for picks this year because of the deep draft.
Yeah.
So to get Andy Green for a second next year, and David Quenneville probably still has some NHL potential, I would say in like a 5-6 role maybe, if he really started to grow his game. But definitely a 7th guy for sure that could be up and down your roster, a really good depth defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
So I think both teams made out really well for where they're at. And I think trades go for both teams in my opinion.
Yeah. Andy Green's going to more than likely retire at the end of the year.
Yeah,
so
and it's not like he's going to be logging 25 minutes.
No, he's
going to play third pairing.
Lefty.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be too strenuous.
Second penalty kill probably.
Yeah. And then pretty much it felt like right after, but it was a couple hours later. A big trade was Blake Coleman, again from New Jersey, goes to Tampa for a 2020 first this year's, but it's Vancouver's from the Miller trade that they sent over, and prospect Nolan Foote. The pick that they got is top 3 protected at this point. I mean, it seems pretty illogical that it would be that.
Lottery. So Vancouver misses the playoffs.
If Vancouver misses the playoffs,
New Jersey will get it next year.
I think it's just top 3 protected.
I'm pretty sure it's playoffs.
Is it?
Yeah, that's what everyone was saying.
Okay. But that's a serious trade right there. Tampa threw a lot out there to get Blake Coleman, which a lot of people don't really know Coleman. Like, I'm a New Jersey fan. I see him and watch him play. He is a really good goal scorer, and I think he's a really underrated goal scorer. This is only his 3rd full season in the NHL, but he already has 22 goals at this point on a really bad New Jersey team. Scored over 30 last year. He can easily hit 30, and on a team like Tampa Bay, he could probably hit 35, depending on what role they give him. He's playing bottom 6 on New Jersey, playing center. He can also play left wing. So when you're scoring 22 goals on a bottom 6 team, that's one of the worst teams in the league. It's a lot of goal scoring potential, and you've seen his highlight reel goals that he likes to score with one hand. That's kind of his specialty. He has 4 or 5 of them in his career. As for Nolan Foote, to me, that was a good move for New Jersey. It was a surprising one for Tampa Bay because they were really high on Nolan Foote, especially after his stock went up right at the World Juniors this year. To me, if I'm Tampa Bay, I don't know where Nolan Foote came into that trade, because to me, Coleman for that 1st round pick would have been a pretty good deal.
I would have been more comfortable. Like I said, I can see both sides of the trade, but I really think Tampa. I understand Coleman's got 22 goals on a really bad team. I understand that, but the guy's going to play third line, and you paid a lot for a third line player.
Yeah,
like a 1st round pick. You'll probably end up New Jersey will probably end up using it next year, and a potential top 6 forward. It's really hard for me to, if I'm a Tampa fan, to really see that go through. I understand, like that was a sign of like, let's go all in.
They're going all in at this point.
That's an all-in move. That. But at the end of the day, I think that trade was just a little too much. I would have been more comfortable with like maybe a 2nd for this year, and maybe like a Taylor Radish or a Boris Kachuk. Maybe one of those guys. But a Nolan Foote to me was kind of tough to give up after seeing what he did in the World Juniors this year. But props to New Jersey getting the most they could for a guy that really they could easily get rid of.
Yeah. And on a rebuilding team, Nolan Foote could jump right in the lineup next year. I mean, he's over.
He's got that NHL shot.
He's got an unreal NHL caliber shot. He's a big body. He can skate for someone his size, and he's already signed. Tampa signed him after they drafted him, so he could easily probably jump into next year's lineup for New Jersey on a weak team that doesn't really need to do anything just to get him those NHL experience.
Too bad they couldn't get both Foote brothers. They're both on. They were both on Tampa.
The feet were in Tampa Bay, but now one shoe's on one foot, and it's the way it is. He's also over a point per game. He was injured for most of this year.
Yeah, he's only played like 30-some games, like 35 games or something like that?
No, it's not even that. I think he has 27 games played and about 35 points.
That's why I get the 35 from.
But he's well over a point per game. He's got a ton of goals. Just awesome trade for New Jersey. And we'll just jump into a kind of a minor deal that could be one in the future. Carolina traded Julien Gauthier to the Rangers for Joey Keane. Keane was a third-round pick in 2018. Julien was a first-round pick in 2016. I saw Gauthier play a lot. He played in the Q. He played with Valdor, and then got traded to St. John. He's a guy with an unreal shot. He's a big body. He's 6'4". He's over 200 pounds. He can play the game all up and down the ice. This move comes. I think it's a beneficial move for both teams. Gauthier has been stuck in the minors. It's probably his time to come up and play in the NHL, but with the amount of young players that Carolina's had, he just hasn't been able to get up. Where when he's going to get moved to the Rangers, who will probably take him up right away. He's probably not going to play with the Wolfpack.
Yeah, I think he's proven this year with Charlotte that he's definitely earned a spot up in the big club.
And with the moves that the Rangers could be making with, say, Kreider leaving.
Yeah. He's a decent replacement.
He's going to jump right in the lineup, and that's exactly what they want. They want the young forwards who can score goals, right?
Well, right now, Gauthier, I was looking for the stats, the last thing I said. He has 26 goals and 37 points right now in 44 games with Charlotte.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
And how were his stats last year when they won the Calder Cup? Did it say?
They were around the same. Like a little higher, obviously, because more games played, but I'm pretty sure he hit that 30-goal plateau last year.
He's a natural goal scorer. He goes to the net hard. He can tip pucks, stand in front of the net. Good trade for both. I mean, Joey Keane, he's a young defenseman.
And he was kind of
Carolina needs at this point.
He was going to make the team this year, and everyone was saying he was probably going to make the team. But the problem was they brought in Jacob Trouba.
Mm-hmm.
So they had Tony DeAngelo, Jacob Trouba, and who was the... They had another right-handed defenseman. I can't remember him, and I know who he is, but that's who knocked out Joey Keane. Joey Keane's an NHL-level player, and I think you'll probably see him play with Carolina down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was they had three more experienced NHL right-handed defensemen in New York that pushed him down to Hartford.
Yeah.
And he has 22 assists, 8 goals for 30 points in 49 games.
Which is pretty good for a 21-year-old, I believe. Or, no, he'd be 19, 20.
20, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be about 20.
Which is really good.
Which is really good for someone of that age. Ooh. Now, jump into a trade that I thought was a really, really good trade, which a lot of people didn't see coming and has one fan base really mad. Now, Dylan DeMello goes from Ottawa to Winnipeg for a 2020 third-round pick. I asked you before we started this, I thought it was a second and a third, just a third. I remember seeing how mad Ottawa fans were about this trade. Now, DeMello is a really good young defenseman. He's been playing top minutes with Thomas Chabot, and he gets sent to Winnipeg, who we pretty much mentioned every single episode that they need defensemen. They have nobody but Neil Pionk at this point. I think that's a really good trade for Winnipeg. They bring in someone with great NHL experience who can play. He's a good two-way D. He can play both ways. And you just throw a third-round pick to Ottawa, who right now just wants picks, needs to rebuild. But if I am Ottawa, I'm a little bit pissed that I didn't get anything more than a third-round pick for Dylan DeMello.
I mean, he's a depth. I mean, obviously in Ottawa, people are going to be upset because he played top 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But really on a contender, he's like a 5'6" guy.
Mm-hmm.
So to get a third is pretty good. And I mean, Ottawa has 2 firsts, 3 seconds, and 3 thirds now in the upcoming draft.
Yeah.
So they have tons of draft capital. So I think it was a win for both teams because obviously Ottawa is looking to get those picks, get those more prospects, fill the cupboards up as high as they can go. And Winnipeg needed defense help. Bufflin's not coming back, and they needed a righty. Dylan DeMello was available for a third and pulled the trigger on it. I like the trade for both teams.
Mm-hmm. Now, the next defenseman that we had moving was Brendan Dillon, who we speculated pretty much all year that he was going to get moved. He goes to Washington for a 2020 second and a 2021 third. It's a conditional third. The condition is if Washington wins the cup, this year it becomes a third round pick. They get to keep that. To me, this is a really good move for
50% salary retained too.
50% salary retained. I think it's a really good move for Washington, who again is going in for a cup. Why not? They can. I think it's a really good move. They get that good defensive defenseman that they haven't really had since they moved out Gudis in that the deal that they made with Philadelphia. I think that really secures the defensive aspect of their back end. I mean, it's not a whole lot to give up. I mean, yeah, it's a second and a third, but it's a third for next year. It's a second for this year. It's going to be a high second this year. I mean, if you're San Jose, you got to be happy with that return. There was no way you were getting a first-round pick for Brendan Dillon. So, I mean, at this point, if you got anything more than that second pick, that's a win.
So, yeah, it's a win for both teams. Washington gets another lefty. It's a defensive guy that plays a penalty kill, can play 5-on-5 really well, and you gave up a second and a third for him. And to me, those picks are going to be like the second or last in each of those rounds because I have Washington winning the cup this year. Mm-hmm. And definitely with them getting Dillon, definitely raises my chances of that actually happening. So I think at the end of the day, you're giving up technically a third and a fourth because how late those are going to be in the round. I think it was a win for both teams.
And I think if you're Washington, you're really hoping that you're giving them that third-round pick.
Yeah.
Win that Stanley Cup and give that third-round pick. Because if you win the cup, it really doesn't matter what you gave up. You won a cup.
Yeah.
Especially when you're getting 2 cups in 4 years. 3 years. 2018?
It'd be 2 and
2018?
2 and 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, which nothing to complain about. Now, a trade to me that raised some eyebrows and I'm sure pissed off an entire fan base. Montreal trades Marco Scandella to St. Louis for a second this year and a 4th-round pick next year. You might remember we talked about this. I remember that trade broke after we recorded... Nick and I recorded an episode, and right after we finished recording, that trade broke, which was that 3-team deal between Montreal, St. Louis, or Montreal, Buffalo, and Calgary. And all Montreal gave up to get Scandella was a 4th. And he plays for about a month. Played great, actually, in Montreal. I thought he was a really good fit in Montreal. They take him and they flip him to St. Louis, who, again, is going for another cup run, and they get a second out of it. If you're Montreal, you should be...
Buy low, sell high.
You should be extremely happy right now. And if you're the Buffalo Sabres fans, who have been nothing but pissed off all year, this should be the worst thing that you could get. Especially
it's just another knife in the back to Buffalo fans.
I feel bad for Buffalo fans. They've just been slapped in the face.
Like, they probably traded, when they traded them, probably, oh my god, we got a 4th? Like, that's a pretty good pick for Scandella.
Yeah.
And then they open up their phones. Montreal trades Scandella for a second? What?
There's going to be a lot of therapists in Buffalo.
Do you think this is a knack? Do you think the Buffalo owner looks at this and says that's a huge knack on Jason Botterill?
Yeah, if you're Jason Botterill, I'd be pulling at that collar.
If I was the owner of Buffalo, I'd be pulling him in my office and talking to him. Like, how the hell did you not get at least a third when they flipped him for a second?
Did you see the girl playing the Hey There Delilah, but it's Hey There Jason Botterill?
No.
Oh, a girl. It was about 2 weeks ago that I seen it. It's a girl playing an acoustic guitar, and she's playing Hey There Delilah, but it's Hey There Jason Botterill, and it talks about how shitty everything is and how much Buffalo hates them and all the things that they could have did better. I think you should watch it. We'll watch it after this. It's funny. That's like, just listen to that song
and it's tough to hear Jason Botterill talk because he talks about all this, like, making moves to win and doing all this stuff, but then you see the moves he makes is like, that's not really a winning move.
No, you're just... I mean, at this... Buffalo is a seller at this point, but it feels like they've been sellers for the last 15 years.
I think Jack Eichel's going to bite the bullet at one point and say, get me out of here.
I don't think so.
You think he's a Buffalo?
I think he's Buffalo for a few more years because this is his team right now, and he's been killing it.
I mean, he can go to another team and make it his team.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what the answer is to this team because they've been so bad for so long, and they've had guys come in, they've had coaches change, and they've had GM changes, and so many guys come in, so many guys come out, and they've had winning teams, and they lose, and they win, and they lose, and they just... I don't know what the problem is. They were great at the start of this year, and they were great at the midway point last year.
November's their month, man.
And then they completely collapse, and nobody knows.
November is the month of the Sabres. And then the rest of the year is not.
I mean, I think in the offseason, something you need to focus on is getting a number one goalie. Now, that's obviously hard because everybody's looking for
I think they're waiting on that prospect that they got that...
Luka.
Yeah, it's really long name.
The Finnish guy.
The Finnish guy, yeah, with the two last names.
Yeah.
Pekka something.
Yeah.
It is Pekka something.
Yeah, he's going to be...
Like his last name's Pekka Lukarainen or something like that?
Yeah, something along those lines, but it's two last names. He's Finnish. He's played in the World Juniors for Finland last couple of years. He's poised to be unreal. Completely destroyed the OHL when he played, and I'm pretty sure this year he's with Rochester.
Yep. I
could be wrong, but I think he's got that European status where they can play when they're a little bit younger. And he's looking great, but you never know that Buffalo might bring him up and just completely ruin him. But as of right now, he's a pretty bright future for them, which if you are Buffalo Sabres fans, you should be happy because it seems like all they have to look forward to is constantly is the future because the present is never any better. I don't know. I'm curious to know what they're really going to do at the trade deadline because they got a lot of, you talked about like with Zach Bogosian.
I think they could probably get something for Johansson. He's on a 1-year deal, isn't he?
He's on a 1 or a 2-year deal. He got moved last year for a second. You probably couldn't get a second this year, but you might be able to get a third for him. See what's on the go there. People keep saying Ristolainen's going to move, and some people keep saying Ristolainen's going to stay.
I don't think there's a good market for Ristolainen right now.
I don't either. I feel like if you hold on to him, it'd be a little bit better.
Yeah.
But you never know. Jason Botterill might just say, hey, fuck this, and do what he can do.
Oh, he better not.
Now, who do we have next to talk about?
We didn't get into the Toffoli trade yet. We talked about it, but we didn't get down to it.
I got him 2 down.
Okay.
We'll just move on. The next one is Alec Martinez, a defenseman who we all knew was going to move. A lot of people thought he was going to Vancouver was one that I heard a lot of, and then Toronto was one that I heard a lot of, and I heard a little bit of Washington. Now, the Brendan Dillon deal going to Washington probably nixed that one. And the Toffoli deal was probably in the works, and they didn't want to give up a whole lot more to work on that one. But Alec Martinez goes to Vegas for a second-round pick this year and a second-round pick next year. Good trade for both sides.
Perfect trade for both sides.
I think that's one of those trades where there's no winner, there's no loser. It's a perfect trade for both teams.
I mean, you could say there's a winner because Vegas got the player.
Yeah.
But it's an even trade if you look at it without saying that. Yeah.
I mean, first-round pick or second-round pick this year, second-round pick next year could be anybody. You don't even know where that pick's going to end up. For some reason, LA could trade that deal, right? Yeah. And
I think Martinez fits in perfectly with what Vegas is looking for. That other defenseman, top 4 guy, plays on your penalty kill, great on 5-on-5, can shut the top line down. Perfect trade for Vegas.
Especially with a Vegas team that's had trouble this year in their own zone.
Yeah.
It's kind of left their goalies
and a great cap hit, too.
Yeah.
It's just $4 million for this year and next year. And I think that's where the 2 picks came from, because Vegas is paying a second-round pick for the 2 years they have them.
Yeah, each year is a second-round pick, pretty much, because the rental for this, it would have been a rental for this year, and then you got that extra year tacked on.
So add another second,
Yeah, exactly. Now, the big one that we keep alluding to is Tyler Toffoli. Tyler Toffoli goes to Vancouver for prospect Tyler Madden, who's a center. He plays university hockey, NCAA.
Tyler Madden's a defenseman.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure he's a defenseman.
Do you want to look that up?
You can keep going.
But it's also Tim Schaller and a 2020 second and a conditional 2022 fourth. To me, I don't know. Good trade for Vancouver, who we said lost Brock Besser.
He's a center. Someone said, I heard he was a defense. Someone's article said he was a defenseman. So someone freaked up.
No, I know he's a
which made
center.
Me freak up.
He was a third-round pick a couple of years ago. I think it was 2018. It's his draft year. He's a decently sized body defenseman. He's really good at face-offs. I heard that's his big thing. He's really great in the face-off circle. Really great in his own zone defensively because of that. So that's a great prospect for LA to pick up.
It's funny because I looked at Tyler Madden's stats thinking he was a defenseman. He has 37 points this year in 27 games with Northeastern. I was like, man, that's a good defenseman.
That's a good defenseman.
I was like, whoa.
No, that's
still a good forward, though, for college hockey.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get point per game in college hockey.
Yeah.
So either way, it's still good. But when I thought he was a defenseman, I was over the moon. I was like, wow.
And I mean, Tim Show's a pretty good forward. He'll probably do pretty good in LA. It's
Fourth line center.
He's a fourth line center, third on a team like LA. I mean, they could easily just flip him to get something back for him.
Fourth, fifth.
Something like that. You throw him to a team like Pittsburgh who wants center depth. There's always a need for that. A guy like Nick Bonino is a guy that you hear every year for center depth, and maybe Tim Schaller is a new one for that. And this year's second round pick, if you're Vancouver, you hope that's high, but that's a tough one for Vancouver this year, not having a first or a second in a deep draft like this. I thought it was a little bit of a lot to give up.
Jim Benn trying to save his job. That's what the trade is.
That's what it is. And if
it's
you're
playoffs,
Vancouver
he gives himself one more year.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't make the playoffs, he's getting fired.
Yeah.
That's what I boil it down to.
If he doesn't make the playoffs this year and he gets fired, what does it matter to him that he's screwed over the team?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think he screwed over the team. I think their cupboard's pretty full. They got it's hard not to have a first or second in this draft because it is so deep, but I think their cupboards are pretty full. You should. You think it's a lot?
I think that's a lot. Yeah, I would have been. If I'm Vancouver, if I'm giving up Tyler Madden, Tim Schaller, and a third. That would have been maybe where I was a little more comfortable. Yeah, I think it's a lot to give up. But I mean, hey, if you're trying to win, you're trying to make the playoffs.
Top six forward.
Yeah, you got to give up.
Better than giving up a first.
Yeah, well, they didn't have a first.
2021 first.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now, I don't know. To me, that was a lot to give up. But, I mean, if you're Vancouver and you're really trying to make the playoffs, trying to push to get anywhere, you got to give something to get something. Now, little trade. I'll let you handle this one. Toronto made a couple little trades. Do you wanna talk about them? Because you're a little more suited than I am.
Yeah. The first one was they traded Mason Marchment, 24 years old, undrafted guy from the Marlies, called up and down, to Florida for Dennis Mulligan, third line guy there, kind of underachieved this year compared to what he's been like the past couple years.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I love most about being a Leafs fan, honestly, and it's kind of sad, is reading the comments on Facebook and Instagram about when TSN and Sportsnet and the Leafs themselves post out like the trades and stuff. Because if you ever want to see a fan base so divided on a single move, it's Toronto. If you read the comments, it's complete 50-50 on it. Yeah. And they really go at each other.
Yeah, like I was seeing some of them, they're saying, oh, you got a 6-foot-something Mason Marchment, he's 24 years old, and you trade him for 5'9", little tiny forward. We need size. And I was like, man, this is, at most, this is a fourth-line player. Like, it's pretty close to being a minor league trade, and everybody's losing their minds saying, fire Dubas, he hasn't done anything, because you make a trade like this.
The problem is with the trade is what we gave out, and I understand people think, and everyone will say, well, Mason Marchment's not an NHL player. I know he's not a full NHL player, but he's a fourth-line guy. If you watch him play in Buffalo on Sunday, the guy's forecheck in the neutral zone game he has is crazy good. And everyone's saying, oh my God, you're getting a younger asset. This is a win. It's a year. It's probably less than a year. You don't know. They could be 5 months apart. This is the way they were, like, when they were born, right? I personally don't like the trade. I feel like we have what Dennis Mulligan gives us in depth. And I feel like Mason Marchment could have been an X factor for us in the playoffs, with where he could probably move around in that bottom six and really bring a presence with Kyle Clifford. But hey, I'm not the GM. Dubas made the move. Janssen's out 6 months.
He's done for the year, pretty much.
Yeah, he's out for the year. People are saying that's the replacement for him. I can't really see. The points per game apparently kind of matches up because Mulligan's only played 34 games this year compared to what Janssen's played and put up. So the points per game are pretty close, but I don't think at the end of the day they're even close in what they do. They're close in height, but they're not close in what they do. But Mulligan, full-time NHL player, Mason Marchment, an in-and-out of the lineup guy. At the end of the day, Toronto technically won the trade because they got the NHL full-time player.
See, the way that I read the deal was Mason Marchment, he might not have been a full-time NHL player, and I think they've held on to him for so long and they've tried to use him for so long and never got the chance. I think when they brought him up, they wanted to see what they had, and I think this was a move for him. I think this was kind of out of respect for him.
Like a Josh Levo.
Yeah, he's 24. I think he's going to be 25 starting next season. I think he has a...
And they'll both be RFAs at the end of the season.
They're both RFAs this year. If you don't think he's going to crack your lineup and be able to stay in your lineup, why not send him to somewhere where they could use him, right? And I think that was the deal, because it's not like you're sending him away and you're getting a 4th-round pick, so you don't have that guy that you could use to fill in that role where you do with Malgin, right? And I think that was more. I think it was more of a respect kind of thing. If we can't use you, we'll send you somewhere else where you can.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at the end of the day, that was the deal, and they got someone who's a little bit younger, yes, and also, I mean, is probably more than likely going to slide right into the NHL opposed to someone who's going to be up and down. With
He'll be in the lineup. Well, he'll play tonight.
He's a 13th forward.
He's in the lineup for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other one was the one I actually liked compared to the other one. Toronto, they traded Aaron Luchuk and a 2021 conditional 6th-round pick to Ottawa for Max Veroni. Is that how you say his name? Veroni?
I think it's Veronu.
Yeah. Veronu. The condition is if he plays 10 games with us this year or next year, they get the pick.
Yeah.
He'll be an RFA at the end of the season, so if he doesn't even play 10 games, if he plays 9 and then we re-sign him, he's got to play at least 10 again. But I like the trade. It's a debt move. It's funny because Aaron Luchuk was the prospect that came to Toronto in the Zaitsev deal, so Ottawa obviously wanted him back really bad to go get him again. And probably Veronu, a little more NHL experience, really good two-way game, slots into that 4th line. He's an in-and-out kind of player, and I think that's what Toronto needs. At the end of the day, I like that trade more than I like the Malgin trade.
Yeah, that's a more serious
And I think
trade.
people don't know how good Verano actually is in a bottom 6 role.
Very defensively.
He's not a top. He's not a guy who can go up and down your lineup. He's not versatile like that, but he's a versatile bottom 6 guy who can play on either wing and really get in on the forecheck and play that 2-wing game. And I really like that pickup.
And the only thing really we have left is Jace Hallerlick. He was placed on waivers by the Florida Panthers. He gets claimed by Ottawa. Started off his career, he was a pretty high, I think he was a 3rd-round pick from Washington. Just couldn't put it together in Washington. He signed, I believe, with Florida. He just couldn't put it there together, and gets claimed by Ottawa.
He'll get a chance in Ottawa.
He's going to get a chance. That's the thing. You never know. This could be exactly what he needs. There's no pressure here.
Yeah.
He can get his money. He can try to get his points and figure out where he needs to be better in his career. And why not? I mean, Ottawa gets a forward for nothing that they can just experiment
4th line 2-way guy.
Yeah, you bring him up, and if he ends up being something, he's something. And if he's not, he's not. You know, he'll be down in Belleville, or he's just a healthy scratch, and you let him go. So to me, it's a win-win, because he gets to play somewhere, Ottawa gets to try out a player, and without bringing up all the young guys and trying to, burn them.
And it's always nice to see someone claimed on waivers, because that means someone else really sees something in him and gives him another crack at it. Instead of him getting sent down to the players getting sent down to the American League, you always like to see a guy get claimed on waivers.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have anything else for this one?
Yeah, just shifted. I didn't mention this going back to the Florida and Toronto trade. I found it weird that Florida was willing to give Toronto, a team they're chasing.
They're 2 points, or 4 points.
Did they win last night? I can't remember.
Florida?
They played last. I can't remember.
But they're within.
If they won last night, they're in the playoffs. Toronto's out right now
because they're fighting with each other.
Yeah. So, forgive us. I don't know if Florida won last night or not. If they did, they're there in the 3rd spot. If they're not, they're still 2 points back. They're 1 game back. So for Florida to give a team they're chasing an NHL caliber player for like a bubble player. Kind of surprised me, kind of weird. You don't really, especially in the same division too, you don't see a lot of trades like that, especially at this time of the year. Like usually you see inter-division deals in the summer.
Yeah.
Which, that kind of threw me off. You don't see that much, and that's why I kind of found it weird, that's all.
You got anything else for us?
No.
All right. This is, we're just hitting the 49-minute mark, which is a good length for the episode. I feel like we're doing usually a little better when they're a little under an hour.
Yeah.
Is when we get the better views. But this one's a little quicker than usual. But I think we're gonna maybe record Monday or Tuesday.
We'll probably do Monday because the trade deadline is on Monday. We'll probably do it right after.
We just wanted to. Again, I'm going away. We wanted to get this stuff out there before it became too stale and too old to really talk about. So while it's fresh, we just wanted to get it out there, and then that way, Monday or Tuesday, we're not gonna have a 2-hour long episode with all the trades. So that's it for this one. I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see you when we see you. Have a good one.